Sziasztok, kedves hallgatók, és szia, Stefó!
Szia, Flóra!
Ez megint a Mérlegen, és egy különleges adásunk van, részben azért, mert a meghívottunk miatt angolul lesz majd az adás második felében az interjú, részben pedig azért, mert a meghívottunk nem más, mint Shane Tusup, akit hát nem elsősorban sikeres vállalkozóként ismertünk meg, azonban mostanában, főleg a social médiában így igyekszik saját magát pozícionálni, úgyhogy erről fogunk vele beszélgetni, megkérdezzük a sportbiznisz oldaláról is, illetve arról, hogy hogyan tudja túlélni a saját hírnevét. Viszont mielőtt erre ráfordulnánk, csapjunk is bele az elmúlt hetek vállalkozásokkal, cégekkel kapcsolatos híreibe. Stefan, én hoztam neked egy tinderes hírt, ami miatt nagyon fontos, hogy tisztában vagy-e azzal, hogy milyen előfizetési opciókat kínál ez az alkalmazás.
Nem, ugyanis én már házas voltam, amikor a Tinder megjelent, és soha nem használtam, nem is voltam fent rajta.
Hát egyikünk se célközönsége ezek szerint az applikációnak, illetve, majd erre még visszatérünk, minden esetre eddig volt háromféle előfizetési csomag, és most ilyen egy negyedik, ami ilyen ultra VIP lesz. De ahhoz, hogy megértsük, hogy mit tud ez az ultra VIP-nek is nevezhető egyébként hivatalosan select membership, ahhoz érdemes megnézni azt, hogy eddig mikért fizettek a felhasználók a Tindernek, nem tudom, egyébként van-e kedved tippelni, hogy mi lehet.
De igazából amióta feldobtad a témát, ezen gondolkozom, hogy egyáltalán, hogy ott miért lehet külön fizetni, tehát csak nem tudom. A mesterséges intelligencia kiszűri, hogy a korábbi lapozgatásaid alapján még kik tetszenek, és azokat fogja ajánlani?
Ó, nem, nincsen ennyire advanced technológiája. Az alkalmazásnak azt olyasmiket lehet fizetni, egyrészt ugye a hirdetésmentesség, ami ilyen alapvető, másrészt, hogy mondjuk a világon bárhonnan dobjon föl neked profilokat, ne csak ugye, ami az eredeti ígérete volt bizony, vagy hogy akár mikor és akár mennyi embert lájkolhass, akit lájkolsz, annak akkor is feldob, hogyha egyébként nem feltétlenül dobna fel, meg na mindegy, szóval, hogy ilyen jellegű funkciói vannak, és akkor ezekért az előfizetés az ilyen havi 5800 forinttól kezdődik, wow. És a platinum, ami az eddigi teteje volt, az mondjuk, ha csak havi előfizetést választasz, mert a fél éves, meg az éves, az havi lebontásban kicsit jobb, az 11.500 forint volt eddig. És akkor ehhez képest vajon szerinted mit kell tudnia egy olyan előfizetésnek, amiért $500 kérnek el havonta?
Havonta?
Havonta. Csak a hallgató kedvéért ez több mint 180 000 forint mondjuk mostani árfolyamon.
Hát én megvalószínűleg elképzelni, nem tudom.
Nem egészen tűr nyomdafestéket, vagy podcastbe se való, de amikor ezt nemrég egy barátomnak meséltem, akkor így, hát visszafinomítva az volt a kérdés, hogy meg is ejti-e a randit helyette ennyi pénzért.
Igen, de ezt abszolút megértem, ezt a felvetést. Na de miért? Most már tényleg nagyon kíváncsi lennék.
Ez egy ilyen prémium dolog, amit egy nagyon exkluzív körnek elvileg csak a felhasználók 1%-ának kínálják fel, szóval hogy ez nem olyan, hogy te bekopogtatsz a Tindernél, hogy én szeretnék select member lenni, hanem ők írnak neked egy e-mailt, hogy itt lehet előfizetni erre, és hát amiket kínál, az direkt üzenetküldési funkció, azaz, hogy bárkire rá tudsz írni, attól függetlenül, hogy meccseltetek-e, és ráadásul bárkire ráírhatsz heti kétszer, ami azért szerintem így erősen creepy dolog,
hát
egészen addig, amíg bárki azt nem mondja, hogy köszi szépen, akkor innentől kezdve letiltalak, de hogy kvázi a fogadó félreteszi annak a felelősségét, hogy a nagyon pénzes felhasználó az meddig írogathat neki. Aztán
ez rettentő fura azért.
Nagyon. Aztán van egy ilyen elsőbbség, hogyha lájkolsz profilokat, akkor mindenképpen téged fog hamarabb mutatni, és hát egyébként ami a legviccesebb része, hogy felajánlanak egy jelvényt is, hogyha akarod, akkor kiteheted a profilodba, hogy te havi $500 fizetsz ezért, ami hát az én értelmezésemben erősen kontraproduktív.
Hát fél, biztos van, akinek ez vonzó. Van erre $500 havonta?
Igen, de hogy ennek az érmének a másik fele, hogy úristen, mi lehet azzal a csávóval, akinek havi $500 kell fizetnie azért, hogy sikere legyen a Tinderen, szóval érdekes.
De sok kérdés felvet, és van éves előfizetés is a bizonytalanoknak, akik annyira nem bíznak magukban, hogy akkor rögtön egy évre előre gondolkodik?
Nem tudjuk pontosan, mert hogy ugye csak annyit tudunk, amennyit így közleményben kiadtak róla, hiszen ez nem egy nyilvánosan választható opció, de hogy az $500 havidíj az éves díjból visszaszámolva jön ki. Szóval, hogy nem tudom, hogy egyébként van-e olyan opció, hogy csak egy hónapra fizetsz elő, de lehet, hogy akkor az még drágább.
Tehát önbizalomhiányos gazdagokat céloznak, akkor lényegében
abszolút,
ezzel.
És hogy ennek ami még érdekesebb része, hogy a Tinder bár elvileg társkereső applikációként funkcionál, vagy így van benne az embereknek a fejében.
Elvileg?
Igen, mert hogy egy friss kutatás idén Angliában kimutatta azt, hogy a Tinder felhasználóknak valójában majdnem a 2/3 az párkapcsolatban él, és nem is keres magának még csak randi partnert se. És hogy
önbizalom, vagy mit csinál?
Abszolút, igen. Tehát, hogy ilyen önbizalom boostnak használják azt, hogy gyűjtik a meccseket, de hogy igazából ismerkedni az így semennyire nincsen rajta radarjukon, és azért, hogyha azt gondoljuk, hogy az ott felhasználóknak a 2/3 nem keres randi partnert, akkor az elég nehéz helyzetbe hozza azokat, akik egyébként ismerkedni járnak erre az alkalmazásra, és hogyha ehhez még azt is hozzáveszünk, hogy sajnos magyar adat nincsen, de az USA-ból 2021-ből van egy olyan adat, hogy a felhasználóknak a döntő többsége férfi, 75,8%-uk. Hogyha heteroszexuális ismerkedésről beszélünk, már pedig azért tudjuk, hogy általában arra használják ezt az applikációt, vagy használnák, akkor hatványozottan szarul indulnak a férfiak itt, és hát nyilvánvalóan ebből nagyon sokan arra következtetnek, hogy ezt az $500 előfizetést is rájuk targetálják.
Hát ebben szinte biztos vagyok. Minden esetre mindez megerősített továbbra is abban, hogy ez nem az én applikációm. Önbizalomhiány, hát nem tudom, tehát ez ilyen nagyon furcsa dolog. Most gondolj bele, párodnak a telefonján megtalálod a Tindert, és akkor így kérdőre vonod, és ez a válasz, hogy ja, hát ez csak önbizalomhiány.
Hát igen, valószínűleg ott bele lehetne abba is menni, hogy egyébként azoknak a párkapcsolatoknak milyen terápiára lenne szüksége, de ez már azt hiszem túlmutat az adásunkon.
Viszont az lehet, hogy többe kerülne, mint a havi $500.
Ki tudja. Úgyhogy akiket jobban érdekel a Tindernek a témája, azoknak mindenképpen ajánlom Serdült Viktória kollégánknak a cikkét, ami a Tinder 10 éves szülinapjára készült, ezt megtaláljátok majd a leírásban. És most pedig átadom a te hírednek a terepet.
Köszönöm, ez annyi egy kicsit földhöz ragadtabb. Egy múlt heti hírt hoztam. Arról szólt, hogy igazából 2022-ben hány munkabaleset történt Magyarországon. Ez szám szerint 21.273. Ezen lehet vitatkozni, hogy ez sok vagy kevés. Hát valószínűleg az egy is soknak számítana, ugye?
Meg ha ilyen napi lebontásban nézzük, azért az elég sokra nő.
Igen. Tehát akkor sem sok. Hogy van?
Akkor se kevés.
Akkor se kevés, akkor jól mondtam először. Tehát akkor se kevés. Halálesetből kb. 68 volt, se kevés. De ami számomra igazán megdöbbentő volt, és igazából én már elég hosszú ideje nézegetem ezeket a statisztikákat, és nem nagyon látni semmilyen változást, hogy a munkavédelmi hatóság ellenőrzéseinél a cégek 70%-án áttaláltak valamit. 70%, hogy ez több mint 2/3, ez számomra mindig megdöbbentően sok, és persze itt bele lehet kötni abba, hogy hát olyan részletességgel vannak a szabályok megvírva, amit lehetetlen betartani. Hát én itt mondanám azt, hogy tehát hogy ezért nem véletlenül vannak ezek a szabályok, és az egész rökönben, ez az egész szerintem ilyen tehát ilyen a kultúra, tehát hogyha belegondolsz a autószerelőnél is, hogyha számlát kérsz, akkor úgy néznek rád, mint egy hülyére, és ez távolról kapcsolódik, de szerintem ugyanoda vezethető vissza, és egyszerűen nem tudom elképzelni, hogy mi kellene ahhoz, hogy ez megváltozzon. Neked van bármi ötleted? Hát
most az jutott eszembe, hogy ilyen sok szabálytalanság mellett az merül fel, hogy egyébként hogyan büntetik ezt, vagy hogyan bünteti ezt a hatóság, mert valószínűleg nem elég erősen, hogyha ennyire nincsen visszatartó ereje, már pedig a számok azt mutatják, hogy erre egyébként lenne szükség.
Hát igen, 2022-ben összesen nagyjából 250 millió, kicsit kevesebb forint bírságot szabtak ki, és már sokat mondó az is, hogy vannak ugye utóellenőrzések is, és ott is több mint 10% még mindig megbukik ezeken az ellenőrzéseken.
Hát ezek annak a klasszikus esete, amikor úgy döntenek, hogy jobban megéri befizetni a bírságot, mint egyébként ezzel mélyen foglalkozni.
Ez így van, de sok esetben tehát olyanokról van szó, természetesen tehát ezek az esetek ugye nem egy irodai munkánál fordulnak elő, hanem építkezéseken, feldolgozóiparban, ahol nagyobb gépekkel, de csomó esetben olyanról van szó, hogy felveszi mondjuk a munkás a sisakot, vagy aki építkezésen van, az ki vannak kötve. Ne adj Isten, hogyha földmunkák vannak, akkor az alá van, ne támasztva rendesen. Tehát ezek, nem tudom, számomra annyira alap dolgoknak kellene, hogy legyen, és még nagyon messze vagyunk, tehát 70% még mindig megbukik.
És valószínűleg ahhoz, hogy ez így kulturálisan gyökeret verjen, tényleg kell egy átmeneti időszak, amíg ezt valaki kikényszeríti, és azt mondjuk úgy lehet elérni, hogyha a hatóság kikényszeríti a munkáltatótól, és akkor a munkáltató pedig ellenőrizni fogja a munkavállalóit, és egy idő után meg aztán hozzászoksz ugyanúgy, mint ahogy a maszkviseléshez is hozzászoktunk, amikor kellett.
Ez így van, csak bennem azért van egy ilyen kis pessimizmus, mert szerintem nagyjából 10 éve is ugyanezek a számok voltak, és egyszerűen nem látom, hogy hogyan tudnánk előre lépni. De próbáljunk meg talán egy kicsit vidámabb vizekre elvezni. Neked mi a második témád? A
vidámabb vizeket azt most a tengeren túlról fogja szállítani nekünk, méghozzá az NFL, azaz a profi amerikai fociliga, és Taylor Swiftnek az összetalálkozása. Nem tudom, hogy tudod-e, hogy hívják a Taylor Swift rajongóknak. Egyesek szerint fanatikus, már szektaszerű.
Swiftie?
Bizony, Swiftinek hívják saját magukat, Swiftikként hivatkozik magára ez a csoport.
Különben.
Ilyen popkulturális tudás, ez nagyon fontos. Szóval, hogy hát arról nagyon sokféle hír van, akár egyébként a közelmúltból is, hogy ők mekkora vásárlóerővel, vagy mekkora ilyen világot alakító erővel hatnak, akár a popkultúrán kicsit túlmutatóan is. Ennek csak egy példája a közelmúltból, hogy Taylor Swift most éppen világkörüli turnén van, és erre a turnéra tényleg, tehát hogy így kis túlzással azt lehet mondani, hogy öltek a jegyekért, és rengeteg rajongó nem tudott így se bejutni, pedig mindenféle korlátozások voltak, hogy egy fő hány jegyet vehet, maximum, hosszú sorbanállások, online, stb. Ahogy ez lenni szokott, és hogy egyébként névre szóló jegyek voltak, tehát hogy a jegyüzérkedéssel így is megpróbálták felvenni a harcot. Na minden esetre, mivel nagyon-nagyon sokan kiszorultak ezekről a koncertekről, még úgy is, hogy extra dátumokat, extra koncerthelyszíneket is például Európában beiktattak, ezért hát felmerült, hogy akkor kéne csinálni koncertfilmet, amit gyakorlatilag nem lehet persze tudni, mert még nem láttuk, de hogy az előzetes hírek alapján gyakorlatilag a koncert minimális kivágásokkal, és ezt mozitermekben fogják vetíteni. Ez a film még nem került mozikba, de már is 27 millió dolláros bevételt hozott a jegyeladás első napján az USA-ban.
Az még egy nagy filmnek sem.
Igen, tehát hogy egy koncertfilmnél ez ilyen egészen elképesztő. Na, és akkor ez csak egy bizonyíték annak, hogy a közelmúltból, hogy hogyan működnek a Swiftik, amikor akcióba lendülnek, és hát az történt, hogy a múlt héten Taylor Swift ellátogatott egy amerikai foci meccsre, méghozzá azért, és akkor itt jön a dolognak a bulvárszála, mert már egy ideje rebesgetik, hogy ő egyébként az egyik játékossal, a Kansas City Chiefsnek a tight-endjével hát randizgat, vagy alakulóban van, bimbódzik a kapcsolatuk, mondjuk így, és megjelent a lelátón szurkolni, és hát ettől felrobbant a világnak a Taylor Swift rajongó fele.
Nem csak az igazából, amikor ez megtörtént, én csak azt tapasztaltam, hogy a Twitter oldalt akartam nézegetni, így híreket kutatva, és csak ezt láttam. Mindenhonnan ez jött tényleg.
Olyannyira, hogy az NFL-nek a hivatalos Twitter bióját átírták arra, hogy itt járt Taylor Swift, az NFL-nek a hivatalos TikTok csatornáján ugyanezen a helyen megjelent az a felirat, hogy Taylor's version, ami egyébként most nem menjünk bele, de egy nagyon hosszú utalás arra, hogy Taylor Swift elkezdte kiadni a saját régi számait, hogy nem mások keressenek rajta. Szóval, hogy az NFL is így teljes válszélességgel beleállt abba, hogy az egy a ligán túlmutató esemény, hogy egyébként Taylor Swift megjelent egy darab meccsen.
Igazából én ezt meg tudom érteni, tehát hogy hát ugye pont az előbb beszéltél arról, hogy mekkora sikere volt mind a turnénak, mind a közelgő filmnek, tehát hogy az NFL meg úgy gondolta, hogy hát köszi az ingyen reklámot, ennél könnyebben új embereket úgyse fogok tudni megszólítani, akárhány milliárd dollárt költenék reklámokra, akkor sem valószínűleg.
Ebből a szempontból logikus, az persze egy kérdés, hogy mondjuk ilyen Swiftikből mennyire lehet NFL rajongót csinálni.
Biztos van egy közös halmaz.
ebből nekem azért, vagy ebben nekem vannak kétségeim. Többek között azért, mert hogy egy csomó ilyen közösségi médiás tartalom az arról szól, hogy Swiftiknek magyarázzák, hogy kell elképzelni egyáltalán a meccset, hogy mi történik ott. És lévén, hogy azért az amerikai foci, ez hát a felszínen könnyű, de mondjuk azért így ahhoz, hogy 4,5 órán keresztül az ember ezt így élvezni tudja, igényel elég sok effortot, hogy az ember megtanulja a szabályait.
Többször különben, nekem eddig altatónak volt a legjobb, de
most egy Taylor Swifttel
most aztán biztos, hogy ráfordulok akkor még jobban.
Igen, és egyébként ami ilyen érdekes, csak hogyha már adatokról is szeretnénk beszélni, hogy ez egy hétfő esti meccs volt, amit tradicionálisabban azért nézettebbek, vagy priorizáltabbak így a médiában. Ellenben elég egyoldalúra sikerült, mert hogy a Kansas City Chiefs otthon 41-10-re nyert a Chicago Bears ellen.
Hősünk szerzett pontot?
Abszolút, igen, úgyhogy nagy ünneplés volt, igen. Szóval ez egy relatíve annak ellenére, hogy sikerült olyan touchdown-t ünnepelni, amikor Taylor Swift szíveválasztottjának integethetett a lelátóról. Szóval, hogy ezzel együtt sem volt egy nagyon eseménydús meccs, és semmi esetre sem indokolta azt, hogy amíg az átlagos NFL meccs nézettség ebben a szezonban az 16,7 millió néző, ehhez képest tippeld meg, hogy mennyien nézték.
17 az átlagos, 30?
Azért annyira nem, de 20,3 millió.
Az is
és ez egyébként csak akik élőben oda kapcsoltak, szóval, hogy nincsenek nyilván benne azok, akikhez később ért el a hír, és mondjuk csak az ilyen klippeket, meg összevágásokat nézték meg Taylor Swiftről.
De különben ez számomra lehet, hogy velem van a hiba, én ezt elismerem, de bennem van a hiba, de hogy ez rettentő furcsa. Tehát, hogy én bármennyire kedvelek legyen zenész, író, akármi, ő elmegy egy kriket meccsre, én nem fogok oda kapcsolni, vagy nem tudom, hogy ez bennem van a hiba?
Hát én sem voltam még Swiftie, de majd hogyha a következő életemben annak születek, és akkor ezt így meg tudtam válaszolni, az biztos, hogy tényleg a világon legjobban mobilizálható, és legnagyobb hatást kiváltani képes rajongótáboráról van szó így az online térben. És egyébként ez olyasmikből is meglátszik, hogy a mezeladásokban Travis Kelce-nek a meze hirtelen a top 5-be ugrott, vagy hogy a Chiefs meccset néző nőknek az aránya is hirtelen 60%-kal megugrott, úgyhogy azért ezt lehet, hát most mondanám azt, hogy forintosítani, de dollárosítani is ott a tengeren.
Hát igen, látványos, hát azok a számok, amiket között, azok mindezt mutatják. Nem tudom, be kéne hívnunk nekünk is őt?
Feltétlenül, majd rácsörgök, Taylor Swift-től elkérem Travis Kelce-nek a számát, viszont sporttal folytatjuk, úgyhogy maradjatok velünk.
Az elmúlt években, ahogy oly sok minden, a kultúra is legtöbbször politikai kontextusban jelent meg a hírekben. De hogy egyre inkább a közéleti kérdések kerülnek a színpadra, annál kevesebb szó esik arról, mi történik a közönséget a művészektől elválasztó vasfüggöny mögött. A HVG új podcastjében pont ide utazunk. A vasfüggönyben országszerte ismert alkotópárosokkal beszélgetünk minden második héten, kezdve színészektől, színházi rendezőktől és filmkészítőktől, zenészeken, írókon és képzőművészeken át egészen a művészetoktatókig, hogy megtudjuk, mit jelent a szabad és független művészet a mai Magyarországon. Honnan lehet inspirálódni a rohanó és válságokkal teli mindennapokban? Hogyan telnek a napjai egy művésznek? Miért érdemes a 21. században alkotni? Hogyan lehet értéket teremteni a TikTok korszakában? És mit ad a mai világnak a jó művészet? Az első évadban ezekre a kérdésekre keressük a választ. Én Kovács Bálint vagyok, ez pedig a Vasfüggöny, a HVG kulturális podcastje.
As we promised, we have Shane Tusup here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hungarians got to know you as a swimming coach, but after your divorce, that part of your business changed. Why did you choose to stay in Hungary?
The very beginning of my career was really the beginning of my career. I just got out of college and I was going to graduate school when everything kind of started to form and kind of take what we know as the storyline and all that stuff. And, Hungary was really, outside of college and my home, Hungary was really the first place that really just opened their arms to me. And I was given a lot of opportunities and a lot of respect to, or freedom, should I say, to kind of figure out my methodology and figure out what I wanted to do and travel. And a lot of resources and assistance was put there, not just by, the governing bodies or anything like that or the teams, but also by the people and the support around and people willing to jump in and help. And for me, it really became clear that it was a really special place to be. And I know a lot of people from Hungary may not see it, and it's kind of an outsider's perspective coming in. And, it came clear to me that we have unbelievable talent here. We have truly remarkable talent in everything, not just sports, but, in the mindset, in intellectual, in work ethics. So For me, it was really cool. You know, from a sports perspective, we're like, I don't know, top 3 all time Olympic medalists in the world. And we're like 10 million, 9.9 million people, and maybe another 5 rest of the world. So it was really cool. Like, we have such talent that we should be showcasing to the rest of the world. And it really became home for me very quickly for everything I got to be a part of with Hungary. I got to wear the Hungarian colors and the flag, and that anthem really became my anthem. I was more wanted to hear that. My dream, you know, as a kid is always to hear the American anthem standing on the podium, but I started crying when I heard the Hungarian one. So, you know, it was really special to me to be part of something like this with such great people. It just became a really special place for me to be involved with. And when I started trying to figure out what to do, I knew, okay, not to be cocky or anything, I knew I have the talent to fight my way through the American business life and the competition there. But I also knew that I value a lot being international. I value, on one side is I value being international, and I value, you know, I was doing deals in Italy, you know, negotiating through a third language now, negotiating, forming the contracts, writing the contracts myself and signing them, organizing things in China for appearances and events. And you go back to the US and you're all over the place, and you're doing with all these different countries in Japan a very specific way to do business and try to sign deals and interact. And then on the other side, we have such a good opportunity. And it was, you know, I really value that being international part, because it gives you a sense of, you know, ability to do anything. So you're not afraid of anything. You can handle anything you want to take on, and you start to be able to embrace the culture and then bring the culture with you. So you start to become a whole different version of yourself.
I noticed that you are speaking about Hungarian as we.
Yes.
But we're also speaking in English. How's your Hungarian?
I'm working on it. It's been you know, it was when I started actually trying to pick up a little bit of Hungarian here and there when we were back in college. So, you know, we were together already. We knew that Hungary would be part of life in general somehow or some way. And I thought it was very cool. Horrible at Spanish in school, which was kind of important for my parents playing polo with all the Spanish going on in it and Argentina and stuff. But Hungary was just very cool. I really liked the idea. I liked the culture a lot from the very beginning. And when I came here, I wanted to know more and more out of respect for being part of the country, getting to represent the flag, getting to represent the country. I wanted to be able to speak more. Just, there was a time limit on things. There was a very set time. You got 4 years. You're going to pull this off, or you're not going to pull it off. If it doesn't work, it's done. Time limit's up, game over, reset, new direction, new game. If it works, you got about 4 more years, give or take, and you got to figure things out. So, you know, there was a lot of pressure. So everything was done as fast as possible. You know, every day counted, every hour counted, every minute counted. I was working from 4 a.m. till about midnight every night without a day off. You know, it was a lot of work going on behind the scenes, not only to be able to do the business side or to be on deck or in the gym, but I had to study and I had to figure things out. So I didn't know all the answers. I just knew I was willing to work hard enough to find them. So unfortunately, after 11 years, Hungary's speaking Hungarian and the Hungarian language is always kind of needed to take a back seat for something that was more immediately vital. Luckily now I work with the Magyar Iskola, and they've made a point to try to help what my schedule is. They are there to help rearrange it to make it work. So I'm not losing the fact that I can study, work with tutors, work with people, and they're a big supporter to make sure that my fluency is up, and it's getting there.
And does it make it more difficult to work here in Hungary?
It does make it more difficult. Frankly, it's much more difficult to do business in Hungarian where I can't just easily handle it myself. But on the other side, it means I have to build things properly. So you have to build a very solid foundation to the company. People need to know the rules. They need to know their roles and their responsibility. There has to be a hierarchy or, you know, some kind of communication pipeline. And you have to have things built out in a way that the language is not going to stop, or that I can just go and, you know, I'm limited to be able to just take over everyone's job and start to micromanage everything. I have to have a level of trust. It's hard because you got to find the right people and the talented people that actually want to grow and want to do it with the right mindset. But it puts that, you know, it forces you into that you have to do it the right way, or there's no other version that's going to hurt you down, you know, a year or two from now. If you can make it work, it's going to be, you know, scalable.
Hungary doesn't seem to be an obvious choice in terms of your perception, because your press wasn't always good. You have like a controversial reputation here in Hungary. How do you see the press, your press coverage?
I guess a blessing and a curse. I don't know which one I call it, but it's something I've definitely had to grow up with, and I've had to learn. I mean, I am lucky that it was kind of my first job. So, my first real job, should I say, coming out of college, I dropped out of graduate school to take over everything and kind of never went back. The good example is one of my favorite photos of me, and not usually my favorite photo have me in it, but one of my favorite sports photos that's actually of me was me celebrating the last 5 meters of the first world record long course we ever broke, which was considered at the time unbreakable. And it was that evening was just like a world championship final. Just go for it. Who cares? Maybe you probably won't. You know what? You're not going to, but just go for it because that'd be cool. And it was kind of a running joke with us and the family. It was, just go for it. What not? And I realized the splits, and I realized it's like, you're going to be 0.02. So you can't even see that, that's so small you can't see. So you're going to be 0.02 off-ish, or you're going to be just under it. And with sports, it may never happen again. So you may never come close to that again from an injury or from training or whatever. And I realized, oh my God. And I started screaming because the last 5 meters, it can change in one stroke. It's such a small thing. So I'm screaming, finish. Oh my God. And I'm screaming out of excitement because I'm like, she got it. It's going to be under. I don't know how by much, but it's going to be under. And it was something we had dreamt about. That for us, that was more important at the time than the Olympic gold, because that goes out in history. No one ever beats, they beat it, but for that period of time, it's history. Olympic gold, someone will win that day. You got to be on your game, but somebody will win. Much like NBA championship or NFL, one team's winning. Might not be the best, but they're winning that day. Respect to them, but a world record is a world record, fastest in history for however long it is. And I'm screaming. And I think literally they took the photo. I have a red hat on, and they use it for every negative article in the entire country. It's always that photo. And the funny part is that photo's taken, I think, literally 5 seconds, 10 seconds after it. I was made fun of on pool deck because I'm just a flood of tears, because it was just like, touch the wall, you see the clock stop, and just bursted crying because of everything we had gone to go from, okay, I'm retiring, I'm done, 2012 Olympics, I'm out, to breaking a world record 3 years later. And it was just a flood of tears. And everyone's like, are you really crying? Oh my God. And my reputation, you're crying? And it was like one of the best moments for me. So that's, I think, a perfect example of this. Is like, it's so difficult and heartbreaking to see that photo be used as such a negative thing when it was such a positive moment in my career, especially as a coach, to see her pull that off.
With Katinka also, you built a brand, Iron Lady, which was basically selling the athlete. And there were, understanding of the situation that you were selling the athlete. What would your comment on that would be?
I mean, I think if you look at the best examples across all sports, and part of being a business person, I think business person extends to a lot of things. So even being a manager or a coach and with an athlete is a business mindset. Being a coach, you have to look at it from a business mindset. It's not really about coaching. I never coached as a coach. I mean, I honestly never specifically learned that. I learned to be a doctor with medical degree. I learned with a psychology degree, and I learned with a business degree. The actual, classic go and coach wasn't the goal. It was just something I was willing to do while we looked for a coach, and never quite found someone that fit to the system. So I just kept doing it. Happily that I did it halfway decently. So that was a positive, but I always came from the idea of looking at it as a business because, I explain a lot of times there's the gold medal and there's the gold medal. Those are not equal. One is, something you take home to mom and dad, you take home to family lunches, the family is very happy and celebrates. It's a lifetime achievement. You finally did it. Something you set out most likely as a 4, 5, 6-year-old kid. You sacrificed 27, 30 years of your life to, look, I want to accomplish this, and you did it. And don't get me wrong, that's an amazing accomplishment. But on the flip side, the gold medal can be a gold medal. I don't know how to show it on a podcast, but it can be something that transcends time. It can change the course of a country, especially. And when I say that, it's not an extreme statement. It's that gold medal, if you have a brand around it, if you can build something where that's showcased in a way of the hard work that went into it, the brand that went into it, the sacrifices that went into it. And with a brand, you're building the visual, the role model aspects, all the different parts that have to kind of go into you have to collaborate with brands to get the showcase correctly, but you have to do it very cleverly and very smart. And if you can turn around and impact a whole younger generation, and if you're lucky, the generation behind that or behind that. So you can get people to start to see not just sports people, because of course you can impact swimmers and younger generation. If you look at the world record just got broken for the 400 IM, the girl was 8 when it happened. So she's 16 now. When she was 8, she watched that world record go down. And she said in a quote, she watched Katinka swim. And for me, that was, world record's yours. I could not be happier because what she said, I saw Katinka swim that race at the Olympics. And I said to my mom, my dad, my coach, I want to swim like that. I want to do that. And when she's 8, she's set on a much different path. And she's just as versatile, if not more, a younger version. And you're going, that changed one kid's pathway towards the whole sport. They will change younger kids' aspects. So they'll be a role model for younger generations. So you don't know what they do. Maybe it's not swimming or football or basketball or anything. They take those skills they learn in the sport or what they saw from their role model, and they apply it to business. They apply it towards podcasts. They apply it towards media. They apply it, whatever it is that they're passionate about. They take the same fundamental concepts that they saw from their role models, and they start to impact the rest of the world. Now, what if that gets, saves the planet from climate change or gets us to Mars or creates some medical device that saves millions of lives? I mean, that would be a huge thing. So you can't guarantee what's going to come of it, but you know that that's probably the most important part. Okay, the business side's important too. It helps support the athlete. If you look at swimming as an example, it's not the wealthy sport like, say, football, where football, they can go for a long time. And it's just when they kind of burn out, they have other interests or the body can't keep up, or basketball, they call it a day. With swimming, the average age was much lower. The average age was 23, 24. Now, if you look at that, that was when people were leaving college. And they're like, well, okay, I can sacrifice a year of my career, whatever it is, and continue to swim for one more year for the Olympics, maybe. So average a little bit bigger. But 3 years, 2 years was too much of a sacrifice to them. So a lot of times they're leaving college where they're supported and they have a lot of things going for them and resources. They go, now I got to pay for everything. Now I'm a professional. It's my expenses and my income and my everything. I'm not willing to push it off for 2 years or a year or 3 years or anything for the Olympics, which really doesn't pay anything for most athletes, should I say. So, it really, you can't guarantee what it is, but you see that with the finances coming in, it started giving people an opportunity to stay in the sport longer, which meant more exposure, more branding, more of a face time, getting to know the athletes, and therefore more impact on the younger generations and more options for them. So, every sport impacts a lot of things. And a good example for you is I learned from LeBron. I know everyone knows that I'm like, quote unquote, obsessed with LeBron. No, it's just that he's a really good role model because of how he's handled things. I watched him since he was 18 or 16 or 18, growing up and going through the league and everything he's gone through. I didn't apply it to basketball. I applied a lot of what I learned from him to swimming or to business or to how to be here in Hungary and handle the media like you're talking about. He had to handle it from when he was 16. He's the first basketball player at that level with mega superstar with, Instagram and Twitter and all the social media. So nonstop news coverage, not like Jordan, where it's just, the mainstream stuff on, prime time. So you were watching somebody else go through it and seeing how he handles it, farther ahead in his career than you are. So I applied it in a much different way than he did. And hopefully someone that watched what we were doing with the Iron Lady and Katinka and the fact that it's possible to build a brand in a sport that's not known for money, you can start to build this out being very clever and creative. And hopefully that will continue to catapult. So it's one kid now, maybe they can hit 2 kids, maybe, so it just starts to grow quietly, piece by piece. And it's this something you can bring back to the world and something you can leave a mark on.
How are you able to make your own money and to build your own career in a field of sport that was not traditionally known for, having big money in it?
We really had to be clever about where we went to appearances, where we did clinics, where we did different partnerships.
Did you have a salary as a staff member?
I was fortunate because I was working with the federation. So I was part of the national coaching program. And I was part of the, obviously the club and stuff like that. And then when we had our own club, that also created new pathways of money. Also was usually roped into partnership deals, which also goes back to what you're talking about, was the media might be controversial, but there was enough good to create good positive brand and role model aspects to things. So from my perspective, it's a duo where, you know, you do these things together. If you look at Shaq, Kobe, you look at Phil Jackson, like they're all key parts of each other. So they did it together, you know, more or less on one side or the other, but they were always the best together. So, you know, it was really about showcasing as a brand, a team. So you're really showcasing the Lakers, not just LeBron. You're showcasing a much bigger perspective and, you know, being clever about how you build the company, which products we were putting out, which products we were partnering with, how we would create collaborations, co-branding different products, working internationally. You know, it brought in a lot of speaking deals, which I actually really enjoyed doing. So, you know, it was just, you know, looking at the whole scope of things, being willing to do anything. So you tell me, hey, I need you to do a motivational speech, 1 hour, go. Okay, get comfortable with that. Hey, we need a, you know, someone like Audi or Mercedes or some manufacturing, they need a workshop. Have I done a workshop before? No. Can you do one? Sure. And going back, studying, figuring out what the best in the world do as a workshop, putting your ideas to that structure and how it's kind of done. I think kind of putting your own, you know, forming your own workshop from there and then going out and being brave enough to go and do it. So it's always been kind of a clever way to kind of figure it out and then trying to build a brand.
You basically just described that you branded yourself as a jack of all trades.
Oh, I will flat out tell you that is the 100% true. I say it all the time.
But that also implies that you're master of none.
Very true also.
So how can you be taken seriously when you have a workshop at a big company while you never done it before?
You know, the thing about it, I am a jack of all trades. And it's not that I'm quietly saying that. I'm very proud of that because when I was a little kid, I actually said I wanted to do that. I always thought that was cool. And my parents joke, well, you figured that one out pretty good. Check. But I wouldn't say it's master of none. You're a very good student of everything. So what I've learned, much like the Hungarian I mentioned before, in my position, you need to be very clever about the people you keep around you. You need to have experts around you, people that have better knowledge than you to be able to rely on them. I know my legal. I did it in school. I'm very confident with doing it in Italy and China and mixing up different cultures and still keeping track of an international, drafting a contract, keeping it track, knowing which clauses where go where and how it works. So I'm not afraid of a contract. I'm not afraid of a lawsuit. I'm not afraid of anything, you know, but I do know that if I'm going to be successful with whatever I'm doing with that, it has to be with a very good corporate lawyer or whoever next to me who can make sure that the details are not lost. So I know I'm not the best. I have to be my ego has to be put aside at all times. So jack of all trades with no ego and know that, yes, I have a brand, but that doesn't mean I dominate the situation here. I have to listen to them, discuss with them, brainstorm with them and work well. I need a good finance person next to me to make sure that when I'm putting out a budget or a plan or a financial plan for a company, it's also being thought through from the actual expert side, that I'm not just making up the numbers or hopeful in my mind or being too pessimistic. You know, you really need to be working with the best. So I've always explained it. Yeah, I'm like the axle to the wheel. And the wheel needs to spin, but we need good spokes around to be the experts that keep the wheel in the right shape. And they all need to be important. And you're the person helping to make them all kind of connect. So the legal and the finances and the marketing and the sales all need to be connected through you and with you. So when you come back to it, I'm also a coach leading a team who needs to work well together. And I need to be able to jump into any spot or any role on the basketball court that needs to be filled that day. But I also need to be able to call everyone out on what they're not doing well. And they need to call me out as well. So it really kind of business and sports, you know, business is really just another version of sports for me. And it's kind of essential to be a jack of all trades in that.
You have businesses in very different areas. You have your gin business, car washing, you have catering. Why do you focus your energy in such widespread, showcase of areas?
And how they came? You just thought, I want to have a coffee bar, or there was another opportunity?
To some extent, yes. As to be very just funny about it, yes. To be honest, it wasn't really all of, what is it? Five very different things. They look like they're very different, but they're not. So there's two variations. There's the sports side. That will never go away from me. That's more of a hobby than anything. I guess it's a business, and it's a very good, amazing product. And I think it's a game changer for a lot of athletes that don't have that product. There's a performance cream, a pre-performance cream, and there's a recovery cream. They've been designed with 3 years of experience working with about 60 different athletes in 7 different sports or something, and getting their feedback to something that, someone at the highest level wanted sent to them on a consistent basis, and they're begging for more of it. So, it was something that we tested with the physios, we tested with the teams. There's a lot of research done in it, from kind of the trial and error and going back to the science of why it's working. And I'm really want to get it to the athletes. So that's more of the passion side. Just, you're not going to walk away from sports after everything I've learned and the athletes I have connection to and the trust they have with me. That's not going away. So that was always just kind of really fun to be involved with. On the other side, I really wanted to build a luxury brand. And I don't mean luxury in the idea of like Louis Vuitton or Gucci. So it's just a really fancy name and a higher price tag. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love Louis Vuitton. Great craftsmanship, great work, but not talking about that kind of, I'm just talking about quality. So the things I love about Louis Vuitton, I would say, okay, how do I put that into a brand? I want quality. I want things that, when I say quality, I want things that make your life better, that give you a positive experience, make your life easier, or something, whatever industry it is, something like that.
Doesn't matter in which area, in which industry, just quality.
Well, that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to open up this brand, and kind of, they seems like there's like in the Black Diamond luxury lifestyle, there's about 4 of them right now. And it seems like they're very separated, but they all slowly kind of come together as they start to release onto the market, as they start to open up. So, obviously the first one that I'm absolutely the most passionate about is the gin. We opened up the alcohol, the spirits company. We're in the process of actually merging with the original distiller. So the Scotland distillery, we're actually in the process of merging into an international company, which is really cool, because we will truly be able to distill in the future in Hungary, which is the goal. And we can distill in Scotland, which has a huge heritage in alcohol and distillation. So we can use that knowledge, that know-how. We have 2 amazing older gentlemen who just unbelievably passionate about distillation, the science, the R&D, everything. So we can start to produce more and more different products that really showcase ingenuity, creative mindset, and just trying to rework classic products into something special. On the other side, we have the coffee, the Black Diamond Coffee Supply Company. We put a lot of R&D into that. Us personally, really taste testing the exact percentages, where we're getting it from, what the characteristics of. So it was a really deep dive into how coffee works. And I love coffee. So it was really cool to be involved in it. We don't want to do the machine side of it. So we just want to do coffee. We want to care. Same thing with gin. We wanted to care about product and product alone. So what's really cool is they start to overlap. So we have actually great cocktails that have coffee and gin together, and you start to understand palate. One's for the morning, one's for the evening, consumer mindset. So they really collide nicely, even though they're 2 very different industries to start with. They all kind of come together with the Sky Bar, and it was a huge opportunity that came up. And I was like, okay, then everything kind of synergistically kind of comes around that. You have coffee, you have gin, you have nightlife, you have environment, you have great views, you have hosting, you have, all those different aspects with great food. You have the other part of tasting and enjoyment. And it really adds a luxury, a quality to your life. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but it adds something very nice where you can get away from work, or you can have a great time, take people on nice dates. So it really adds something. And the whole thing kind of comes together as a triangle. And then we're trying to expand that into what people see as car wash is very different. But for me, it was like, okay, but when you're at work, I don't want to have to worry about your car. If you have a family, you need a clean car for your kids. They're going to be chaos. They're going to make the car look like a bomb went off, and you're going to work. Let's take care of your car. And when you come back from a hard day's work, you get into a clean car, it's going to feel so good. And it's going to feel like you just drove off the lot. And when you're going to take your wife out for the date, or your partner out for a date, it feels really good to take them in a clean car. So, it's really taking that stress off people and really providing a different form of quality into their life. That's something I don't want you to have to worry about. Let's just take care of it. We'll consistently take care of it. Customer service, what you need, what you like, understanding the customer, having a relationship with them, taking the key from their office, running upstairs, grabbing the key off the office desk, bringing it down, moving their car, bringing it back. They never think about it. So, that was the goal with this whole thing, was really to provide a next level service, especially the customer side, not just, the actual car being clean. That has to be top notch. But they really all kind of come together in trying to provide this idea that we want to make your life better, whether it's with alcohol or 2 minutes to drink your espresso before an interview. But okay, turn off 2 minutes, drink this espresso, really have a good time, and then be ready for your interview, be ready for your podcast. So it was kind of that different parts of the day, different qualities we can provide, and different customer services and different experiences we can provide. So, it really kind of comes together. Just, you got to understand the different markets, but that's where being a jack of all trades kind of helps, because I like doing that. So
that sounds all really straightforward, but can you explain what went wrong in Török Bálint, where you had a car wash that was only open for a month, I guess? And also you planned to open a restaurant there that was never really opened.
Honestly, I'm sure you guys can understand, I guess you want to call it serial entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur with basically I own a holding company, and we're going to jump into different businesses and we're going to try and make this. So the way I see it is kind of like a chessboard. We're always moving the chess pieces and you're playing a strategic game of what you're doing. So we got into we knew what the end picture wanted to look like, and we saw a great opportunity. And I still think it's a fantastic opportunity there. Just not the right time or place. There's construction going on all around the outside. You can't see the buildings open. The numbers of people weren't coming into the unit or into the grocery store or the building as a whole. The rest of the place was pretty much vacant. We went in with a very, those are all just details of this whole thing. So everything kind of came together where, we got into this for a strategic reason, and we started pushing things off. We found different red flags we weren't super happy with. And and the one thing I explained was, with these projects, you have to they're like a pool of water or like a swimming pool. You're eventually going to have to dive in, but you might as well touch your toe first to see what the temperature is before you jump in shocked and maybe it's scalding hot or freezing cold. You got to know what you're getting into. And part of our game is that you'd rather lose a pawn than lose your king or your queen or any other major piece on the board. Okay, a pawn's acceptable in the beginning of the game. Okay, not great. We want to hold on to pieces while we have them, but you're going to lose some, and you shouldn't be afraid of losing certain things as long as you're losing it strategically, or you can bounce back, or you know what you're doing. So from us, it was very strategic. We didn't really lose it. We just kind of walked away from the project, and we actually redirected the car wash. So we had the unit there. We worked with the landlord. We worked everything going on, and we strategically just kind of took the car wash and relocated it to Agora. We opened up Agora, and we're looking for another ideal location to redirect the remaining parts of the business.
Mostly was a timing issue, in your opinion?
Yeah,
there's a bunch of red flags, but I think timing was really one of the bigger pieces of the whole thing. The economy, when we started the project to now, the economy has drastically changed, and that wasn't necessarily us being slow. It was about when we could actually take over the brand new building and when we could actually start to move in. And, you start looking at it when we started the project, you see all these different possibilities and some red flags, but okay, or say not even red, they're a different color, a yellow flag, and it might turn red, it might turn green. You don't know in this scenario, but it's worth trying, getting our foot on the pedal first, getting our hand there first. So if it goes green, we can hit the gas and we can go. If it turns red, okay, we gamble a little, which was my joke before. Okay, I'm a gambler. Like, in a sense, you're strategically gambling. Okay, it's a strategic bet. I have to do it in my business. And you do it in sports all the time. We just don't look at it that perspective. So which race in the Olympics will put you in the best position to get a gold medal? And people move and switches races all the time, not necessarily what their favorite race is, but which position are you playing on the basketball court? Depends on who you're playing with. You're playing with LeBron, you're getting out of the way. And some players don't want to play center. They want to play small forward or something. So, you're really playing what fits to the team the best and the style that fits the team best. So we took our bet and we got in there and we were in a great position, and too many red flags, too many stop signs came up, too many things didn't work the way we had hoped they would work.
Can you talk about this a little bit? Because you always say red flags, but what are these red flags?
Some of it, out of respect for the landlord, stuff like that, I think it's better not to, because we have a good relationship and that wouldn't be fair to them. Some of it's outside of their control, some of it just situational, timing wise. I think Török Bálint is prime for something like that. I think the countryside is. You're seeing a lot of what was really cool for me was that you're seeing a lot of people shift outside of Budapest and be on the outside and the kind of the American suburb of everything. And for me, I come from America, so I understand the American suburb. My dad was working in New York, we lived Long Island, and same thing with LA. We were in the beach cities. I grew up in the beach city, and they both worked in LA. So I see huge potential in that, and it has to evolve. Someone has to get there first, but the right things have to happen in the right order. And with the economy right now, if you look at it, like, restaurants are not in favor right now. There's not a lot of loans going out to restaurants, so you can't get secondary funding. A lot of investors are not jumping for joy about restaurant business, even necessarily for a Sky Bar per se, even though I don't think that's a restaurant. But, it's this too many things going in the economy that make that itself a red flag. So, it really turns into, it's a perfect opportunity at the right time. In the world perspective, you had the war breakout, you had, pandemic still having its lingering effects on the economy, the stock market, and even the US stock market up, down, calling for a recession, then saying, oh, no recession, but wait, there still might be a recession because we're all calm now. So, you're really looking at all these different factors on our own side, even without some other red flags that were happening in the neighborhood, like people executing their construction plan 2 years ahead of time and blocking the whole front, so things you can't control. So this is always things you're taking into effect when you're doing a business, is that you can only control what you can control. You can't control what else is going on in the market. There are a lot of things you can't control. So you have to be prepared to make difficult decisions very quickly. And one of those was we had to make a good call very quickly to protect other projects. And at the time, we weren't prepared to announce the Sky Bar, but we were focused on the Sky Bar. This was a great project if it works in conjunction with the bigger picture of the Sky Bar and the gin and the coffee. And when that started getting delayed out of our control and this and that started happening, we said, okay, tough decision. We love that project. I have the interior photos. I have everything. I love the project, but the car wash can go somewhere else. And if the lounge is not going to work the way we want, or it's going to be delayed, it would still work, I think. Just delayed, and at risk of other projects. I'm going, the gin's working. The gin's winning awards. The Sky Bar is set to be unbelievable. 12th floor, 360-degree view, a passion project for me. Okay, you know what? Tough call. You got to scratch it. And the same thing in the Olympics. We had to scratch the 200 fly. That was my goal, was 5. I did not want to do that. So I did it the last minute by trying to find any excuse not to. And eventually you have to make a tough call. So this, it wasn't really so much we lost it. It was so much more of doing business. And you have to scrap a project when it's going to affect the projects are not going to be what you want it to be. And at that point in time, it just ran into a problem where it got caught in this group of things we have to make a tough decision on. So, I have to be a leader and make a tough decision.
Most of your companies, according to official records, are practically loss-making right now. What's your time frame to make them profitable?
Everything should start coming around pretty quickly. They're all pretty much brand new. I mean, if you look at the gin, just launched it was the Founders Edition. It wasn't even supposed to be a permanent product. It was a Founders Edition, first cut. If you look at Scotch, Founders Edition is just the first entry to the market. We're proud of it, but it's not the final product. The masterpiece is coming out actually in October, end of October, beginning of November. That's what we were working on the whole time. This was the middle piece, the first try. And we didn't actually expect it to win a gold medal or a silver medal or anything. We just thought we'd release it, showcase it, get some feedback, not put a whole lot of marketing into it, just kind of little of that, and see what the public response was, the restaurant response, the bartender response was. And now we're like, okay, can we reproduce that exact recipe? Because we need to keep it on the market, and it's being requested by large international companies, or international countries, and we're like, okay, so we need to go back and make more of that.
Next year?
I mean, all the companies are going to be slightly different. With the coffee, for me and my business partner, Shandor Ivan, it's a passion. We love the coffee, but we don't really want to focus on the machinery. We want the cafes to focus on machinery. Do your machinery stuff. We're not experts in machinery. We became experts in the quality, the taste, the profile, what the experience is, and what the food and beverage part. And the coffee machine should be something that they're focused on because they're passionate about serving coffee. And same thing, we made a really amazing pod for Nespresso machines where it's never going to be as good as a freshly ground coffee, but it's as close as we can get. It's very close. And, getting that out to people was more of a passion for us than going and selling machines. So that's a slow build. A lot of it will start to come around also with the Skybar. So obviously those two businesses are immediately connected to the Skybar. Hungary has about 5 million tourists per year. So even if we can take 1/10 of that, 1% of that, you're showcasing the house gin is being showcased to that many international people. The gin is actually taken off quicker with the merger, but then that's also created a whole new hurdle of things with, due diligence and all the stuff to kind of merge the distillery into the company and make one big international company. But that's what you have to do with the success. I mean, we were surprised with a success like that. And then everything kind of coming together and us opening up much larger. So, coffee might take a little longer, but there's also no real overhead for a lot of it. We roast on demand. We can provide great product as we need to. The gin should start to take off, should start to open up as some of these orders from international companies come in as well. The Skybar hasn't even opened. So, I mean, a lot of the full potential of what we're trying to do hasn't really been hit yet, because a lot of the companies either haven't opened doors or just were launched like April, with the key product coming out in October, November. So, the cream is pre-retail right now. It's being, offered for pre-retail direct to athletes. So when athletes need it, I get it to them. We're kind of opening it up more, but the cream hasn't really opened up to anyone yet. It's just kind of pre-retail, and we haven't really opened up to general public yet. It was more about getting additional feedback on the final version from athletes and really making sure that whatever we had in inventory went to athletes that could represent Hungary or to do something and be role models for younger generations. So a lot of it's more strategic and willing to take a longer path than just, okay, let's make money. And it's very important, don't get me wrong, but not just the quick money. It's more of the long-term plan of what we want to create in the bigger picture and how we want everything to kind of work together as a synergistic method.
And do you think your name is helping at the business? Because all these markets are quite full, the coffee, the gin.
Restaurant, especially in Hungary.
Yes. So does it help that you are Shane Tusup?
I think it does. It does help open doors. It does get the right conversations going. You have to be creative about it and put your ego aside. It does help, and you have to kind of see where it will help and what scenario. And that sometimes it doesn't help. So sometimes I don't need my brand on it. I would love if my brand helps for people to try the gin, and people love that I will show up personally to do a gin tasting with people, and that, hey, we just sit and talk, we have a good time, and they talk about the gin. They're happy to ask for a photo. And of course, I'm happy to do it. So it's the same with the gin. If it opens up some doors and they want to try the gin and experience something that's no other company is doing on the market with the full flavor profile and the full experience, then I'm very happy for it. But if DM&D gin takes off and has its own brand, or Black Diamond Coffee or the Black Diamond luxury lifestyle is just its own thing, I'm more than happy. I'm happy for someone else to be the face of it. I'm happy for someone else to be, in the advertisements. For me, the ego kind of goes out of it. I just want, if it helps, great. It's a resource to use. If not, it's business as usual. And you still got to do the key fundamental stuff. It's just a nice tool to kind of have in the pocket. I see it helping in certain times. I see it not making an impact times. And I see sometimes it's hurt us because of, a mixed reputation, this or that. Someone might not want to get involved in the company or something. They don't know me. A lot of people need to get to know me, that I'm not who the media always says I am. But, it's a unique tool we can use. And I think it's always a plus to have than not have. So it's just trying to figure out how to use it properly and smart and be very clever how we use every aspect of what we have at our disposal.
Thank you so much. It was really nice to have you here. And for all our listeners, thank you for keeping up with us this week as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.